Okay, so we're live on YouTube, which is really fun. This EchoCode's becoming something that's really a place for me to have fun and share all the cool things that, come into our world that we don't realize we have available to us. And because if you haven't met me before, I'm Wendy Paquette, and in the world that I live in, my business, my life, my reality is all built on knowing that when you know thyself, you can't go wrong. And so I'll move myself in the forefront here. Because you can't go wrong when you know yourself well, it kind of has a dichotomy to it because everyone thinks, well, I know myself. I look in the mirror. That's who I am. And if I were to ask you to list your personality and list your knowing about yourself, who you are, how you function in the world, and what makes you tick, would you know all of those answers? Because if you're a high performer, which I imagine if you're attracted to the space where I'm at, that's who you are. You're wanting to achieve great things. You're reaching the peak and the epitome of the height or beyond the height of what you'd like your life to be. You're an athlete reaching the greatest heights. You are a performer, maybe out in the world as a singer, songwriter, actor, or perhaps you're running a business and you'd like to be this best CEO that doesn't get crushed by your company, but thrives and rides the wave of it. Would you know what makes you tick? Would you know the programming that's in the way of achieving your next move without feeling the lag of the gap where you know you are at right now versus where you should be, you think you should be, or that's kind of waiting there for you? What's taking so long to get there? So when I talk about all of the programming, we're looking at the mental programming that's in your field of energy that you can actually alter, change, delete, or add something to in order to shift to the timeline that works for you. And when we know that that's how we can move through the world, and if you don't know much about my work, you can go to my website to learn a little bit more or watch some of the videos on my channel. It's wendypocket.com if you want to go there. How it works is as soon as you change a mental programming bit or a bit of data, your external reality changes. And it becomes an instant experience because you're the focal grounded point in your view. So that you can identify all of those programs. And if you're not familiar with my work as of yet, that's what I teach people, how to identify their own programming. So you don't really need anyone else. Then you can change the programming as well and have a different experience in this reality. So let's hop into my guest that I brought today, because part of understanding your own reality is knowing that you're the one that's the experiencer, you're the programmer, you're the program, your reality is the monitor, and it's very much like a computer system, right? So we experience it just like that. But sometimes it's really difficult to understand ourselves from that perspective. So my very special guest is someone who knows this work very well, who works from his own perspective and has his own nature and his own viewpoint and his own expertise. And today, he's going to share with us some of the things that drive our world, that is energetically an aspect of our reality when it comes to how we do things or how we view the world or how we set ourselves up in order to experience this reality that is more stable than most things, and that is using the planets, right? So when you were born, the time you were born, the location you were born, all of that matters when it comes to who you are as a being and how your soul is expressing itself. So I'm going to bring forward my very special guest and have him talk to us about what that looks like and how that works and why we can use it and should use it in order to support ourselves. So let me welcome Jason, my special guest. We've been working together for a long time, right, Jace?
Very long time. Yeah. September
Yeah.
2019 we met up.
Yeah. So when we first started working together, one of the things that you're a genius at that I discovered very quickly was astrology. And no matter, let's face it, no matter how hard I try, I want to I want to understand astrology better, but somehow within my beingness, that language doesn't land as easily as it does for you and for probably a lot of other people. So, can you explain to us what makes astrology a language that we all get to allow ourselves to understand so we can understand ourselves better?
Uh, well, that's a very big question to answer. But I think we need to start with the basic thing in that case is what it represents. As we say, when you've got that time, place, uh, when you first draw your first independent breath is unique. In that space that you occupy, there is no one else there.
Mm-hmm.
So it is unique to you. And maybe in about 25,000 years, it'll get back to the same point again, by which time it's moved on anyway. It wouldn't be the same context, even though the symbolism was the same.
Yeah.
But to put it in very basic terms, there's a certain rhythm, which is very easy to understand because it's no difficult. Well, the most basic elements of our own chart are the rhythm of the sun that stays in place, but we revolve around it, so it appears that we're going around. So there's a yearly aspect to it, which
Yeah.
has the 12 sun signs. Oh, I've frozen.
We
Can you
might
hear me?
still, yep, I still hear you and see you.
Okay, all right. And then there's the lunar motion. That's every 4 weeks, essentially a month, moon. And then we have the rotation of the Earth itself, which is the ascendant. And there is a rhythm to this. There's the 24 hours of the Earth going around itself. There is the month, the moon going around the Earth, and then there is the year of the Earth going around the sun. This is a steady rhythm that you can easily, if you wanted to put a beat to it, you could, and
Yep.
from all that is where we get everything else. And the planets then fit into that. And the traditional astrology that I've started to use recently, where I cut out the outer planets beyond Saturn, even simplifies that even more. So there's a rhythm. The old song, I think I've mentioned it to you maybe even a few years ago, the rhythm of life is a powerful beat. That is essentially what it is. It's a rhythm. And you just find out where in that space, those three key elements particularly are important. Your ascendant, your moon sign, your sun sign will reveal a lot about your personality. And of course, you said in the introduction, once you know your own self, you can take that into account and say, well, what am I like in a particular context at a particular point?
Yeah. And so when we're looking, my view for how we can address and understand our own programming is more from the, I'd say, emotional, energetic perspective. So as we're living life and we experience our reality, it's kind of in that now moment that I'm then addressing the programming that arrives so that we can navigate through it that way. How would can astrology fit in the moment, or is it something that you get to embody and then see yourself in is so understand yourself better? Like, how does it fit in that way?
Well, the truth is, you carry that moment that you were born, that first independent breath, with you all your
Okay.
life. That is what defines you as your moment of birth.
Okay.
Again, it comes back down to when you know yourself in a particular moment, you're then empowered to go beyond that.
Right.
So if you're in the dark and you're ignorant about these things, you're likely to repeat the same mistakes and think, why the hell did that happen? And you'll probably assign the blame onto somebody else or onto fate or destiny or whatever it is. When you know yourself, you've got free will comes even more powerfully, I would say. It can come more into fruition. You seem to be less dependent on fate or on things happening to you.
Okay, so what would be the number one thing that people would benefit from knowing about themselves that's that would be a present thing all day long? Like, as I don't know, I'm trying to look for that one thing. So if I knew one thing
Yeah.
about myself, how could I embody that and know that?
Well, fortunately, I know your chart very well.
Yes, so good.
So, in your case, let's use you as an example here, as you're the host. Uh, if you're aware that you're a Scorpio rising, your ruling planet is Mars, and Mars is in Scorpio in your first house, I've said it
Mm-hmm.
to you many times, you like to be in the driving seat. You
Yeah,
like
that's
to
true.
be the one with the hands on the wheel, and the engine that you drive is in your control.
Yeah.
So once you know this, and you know that, it might be difficult for you to delegate under those circumstances,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want to put it in too pejorative language, but it could be seen by some people to be a control freak
Yeah.
who might resent that kind of thing.
I see myself as that.
There we go. But once you realize that, it's also in your chart. It's right there.
Yeah.
It's sitting there, and I can point to you as an astrologer. There's your Mars. It's your ruling planet. There's your ruling sign in your first house. It's all about, I'm a self-starter. If anyone's a self-starter, you are.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
If anyone's not a self-starter, it's me. I don't have Mars ruling my first house. In fact, quite the opposite. I'm Gemini rising. Its ruling planet is Mercury, and it's in the 10th house. So I'm sitting there at the top, and I use my mental energy rather than action in order to get things done. So I'm more likely to think about things and have some issues with it because it's in Pisces, and that's in detriment and fall, which means I can get confused under pressure. I can say the wrong thing, and it's likely to be exposed in front of people. So I have to be careful with what I say in public.
Right.
Thanks for putting me in this position. So I've got to be speaking in public. So I'm watching myself. Now, the other thing, Mars is less important. So the drive is less important. And for me, well, it's in your first house, you're a self-starter. My Mars is in the 7th house,
Right.
which means I'm quite happy for someone else to do the driving, or someone else to say, would you like to come on my show and talk about something? Here I am, not on my own show, but on yours.
You're right.
Right? So there we've got a very clear example. It's your show. I'm appearing on your show.
Right. Okay.
It's as basic as that if you want to. But once you get to, the key thing is, do you want to be in the hands of fate, or do you want to control your own destiny? Do you want to actually be aware of it? And therefore, the more aware you are and the less ignorant you are, the more power you have over your own life.
Right. So, okay, if we're looking at it from that perspective, and then I know I'm a driver.
Yeah.
Of course, I want to be the driver of my own reality. I want to drive that train right down the track. So, how does that
sports car in your case?
Yes, absolutely, a sports car. So, what does that look like for me then? So that I know that, then I'm embracing more my driver nature. Or am I looking at where I'm not being that? How does that really work?
Well, you'll have to evaluate in context. There might be people who are comfortable not driving, such as myself, and therefore you can say, it's okay that he's not driving. Great, it's an opportunity for me to be in control. Now, if you do meet somebody who also has their Mars in their first house, you might be thinking it might be better to let them go their own way and I'll go mine, because you might not be happy sharing that type of thing. There might be a conflict there, for example. So you would want to be in a situation where if somebody says, would you like to work for my company? And I'll tell you exactly what to do and how to do it. And you'll be thinking, hang on a second, that's a bit constricting. Whereas for me, it's like, oh, perfect. I don't have the responsibility of all making that kind of decision and setting things up and all that. Just give me something to do and I can do it. Great.
Yeah. Okay. So then so if we know these things, then we can better interpret our reality and be aware of and an allowance of that nature. So then we can put pieces of that, your life and your reality together in order to support that nature, right?
Yeah. And the thing is, you won't get frustrated either. If you recognize that somebody else wants to be the driver and use it, you can easily recognize, are you the type of person, you can even say, hey, when you're born.
Yeah.
And if you meet somebody who's got Mars in the first house and Scorpio rising and Scorpio there as well, and you might be thinking there's going to be a bit of a clash here. We're two alike.
Yeah.
So it's better for you to work with people, for example, who have expertise in other areas and who may not be self-drivers. I don't know if I'm going too circular in terms of that, but if there's anything else that you want to know in terms of what it can do, because there are other kinds of people too, and other kinds of situations. We'll be looking at a chart later with somebody who's neither you nor me. It's not about the driving. It's a completely different thing for them too.
Yeah, that's true. Well, and that's why we're having some beautiful guests on, so that we can see the different aspects of how this shows up for us and how we can utilize it. Like why it's just one more added, like I want to say icing on the cupcake to another flavor to our reality, because there's not just one way of seeing how things work. There's many, many ways of that. So I guess this would be a good time to bring one of our guests up.
Okay.
It just so happens to be her birthday today. So
that's right.
What a beautiful coming into her birthday day to enjoy understanding herself better and how she can use who she is on that level and in the simplest form to navigate her reality through this work, really. So let's welcome up Antoinette.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, we discussed this earlier, and I knew it was your birthday today, and I wanted to honor you and give you, the birthday gift of having Jason support you in understanding yourself better, so you could see how navigating this world, and for me in particular, it's awesome because you know my work well, but I'm attempting to add things to our understanding of knowing thyself better, because my whole stand is when you know yourself, know thyself, and you can't go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So if you know who you are, then you're able to navigate your reality with a greater confidence, with a greater certainty, and with a whole lot more fun, because you're not wondering why things aren't working. When you know more, you can really navigate better. So I'm going to let Jason take this away.
Thank you so much.
Begin with all the great things he has to share with you. And I think when you're ready, Jason, just let me know if you want to share something. I think it'll pop us over to share her chart, if that's what you want.
Well, before we do that, I think it's important to realize as well, we talk a lot about shifting timelines and changing our reality. Now, one of the things that's reasonably immutable, I mean, if you went far enough, you could probably create another timeline where the planets are in a different position, but it's going to be a long, long way from this one.
Right.
And I wouldn't recommend going there anyway. So the great thing about the astrological aspects is even when you shift a timeline, there it is. It's a reasonable way of having something centered that you can still lock onto and anchor whatever changes you make, because even if you shift, you're still going to be you. So when you're ready, Antoinette. Now we had a just to let everyone know, we actually cheated a little bit, and we had a session a couple of days ago. So Antoinette's actually seen a little bit of what we're doing.
Just a smidgen.
Just a smidge. So I will share that with you now if you want to do that now, Wendy.
Go for it.
Have I got to press the button, have I?
Yes, you got to share.
I got to. If I can see it. Oh, there it is. There we go. Okay.
There we go.
All right. So that is Antoinette's chart. This is what's called a traditional chart, and what is missing, as I mentioned earlier, are the three outer planets, which are Uranus and Neptune and Pluto, which Wendy and I use a lot in terms of shifting people's programming. So but that tends to be more generational and more about society and the collective rather than about individuals. And if you wanted to, you could look and see how you relate to all that. But I have found it helpful recently when just trying to examine who you are as an individual, that it's best to simplify and make it as clear-cut as possible. And this really does simplify it. Now, kabing! I don't know what that was, but as you can see, here we've got a circle. Now, those of you who are not familiar with astrology will be confused by some of the glyphs that are used here, so I'll try and point them out for you. But up here, I don't know if you can see me moving the cursor around, but the red circle with a dot in it is the sun.
Okay.
And today, the sun should be in that position because it's your birthday. And the whole point of the birthday is the sun returns to the same spot it was when you were born. So, if you're 24, you're 25, whatever it might be, the sun's now returned for the 24th time. That's your 24th birthday. Right. So there it is sitting there. Now, if we were doing the newspaper stuff, we'd just look at that there and say, well, you're a Virgo and therefore X, Y, Z, right? Here. That's, in that case, there'd only be 12 personalities on the planet. There's more than 12 personalities on the planet. In fact, if you, again, I'll say it again, it would take about another 25,000 years for this pattern to reoccur. So that's a lot of people that can be born, a lot of things that can happen. The thing that we look for, first of all, on a chart is over here, which is what we call the ascendant. Now, we were talking earlier, Wendy, about how the Earth revolves, and every 24 hours, well, I think it's 23 hours and 56 minutes, it returns to where it was. So on the day you were born, at the moment you were born, Antoinette, this was on the horizon. You had Capricorn on the horizon. And that signifies the mask that you wear or the way that you present yourself to people. And that is what most people would see if they don't know you well. That's your public face. The next important point in the zodiac is up the top here, and in your case, this is what's called the midheaven. You'll see an MC just there, and that is in the last few degrees of Libra. It's early degrees there. It's about it's 3 degrees 57 of Capricorn, and then your midheaven is in Libra. Now, what that will decide is your personality, and this is the highest point that you can reach in life. A lot of people see it as a career aspiration. Not everybody has a career aspiration, but for the people that do, this would be the high point. This is the mountaintop for you. Now, interestingly, because I've already asked you this before, you're a musician, correct?
Yes.
Well, funnily enough, Libra is an incredibly creative sign. In fact, I would say it's the sign that's most connected with the arts, broadly. And the ruler of Libra is Venus, which means that the ruler of your career aspirations is the planet Venus, which is over here in the 7th house in Leo. So the two important planets for you are Venus and over here, Saturn, which is the ruler of your ascendant, and the way that it affects you. So when we talk about Wendy, Wendy's got Scorpio over here, and she's got Mars and Scorpio in the 1st house. So she's driven and then self-starter and wants to get in the sports car and zoom off in any direction of travel that she wishes. I'm just going to have a look at you very quickly. Right, there we go. And you're not like that.
No.
Capricorn as a sign is ruled by Saturn, which is old father time. It's steady pace, be disciplined, be rigorous, and don't speed off in any harebrained direction. Let's be sensible here is what it says. Your ruling planet, therefore, Saturn, is right over here in Gemini, which is a thinking planet. It's not the most comfortable place for Saturn, but it means that you would be a disciplined thinker. So someone who would apply themselves to possibly studying or to any kind of mental discipline, you would be, I'd say, pretty good at. Probably better, certainly vastly better at than most of the population. The fact that it's in your 6th house would mean that you would be somebody who is either Concerned with health. It's health concerns. It's the house of labor, so it's working hard. So again, Saturn in the house at the 6th house, it's particularly comfortable in. So you're comfortable working and being disciplined. I'd say your mental discipline. Now, it's interesting it's in Gemini because the ruler of Gemini is Mercury, which is up here. So there's a rulership of a rulership of a rulership here. So the rule of the ascendant is Saturn. Saturn is in the 6th. In Gemini, the ruler of Gemini is Mercury, and Mercury in Virgo is in its own sign, which is where it's particularly happy, and it's a disciplined mind. So you've got a disciplined mind here in the 6th, and you will work at disciplining your mind and anything that you apply yourself to. And the Mercury here is a disciplined mind, very orderly, and it happens to rule your 9th house. Now, the 9th house is concerned with things to do with international travel, long distance travel, the law, sometimes for people, or philosophy. So you could easily apply yourself to any of those things. It can be a pretty creative sign too, and I highlighted to you the other day Mars in Sagittarius, which we'll get to later. But this would indicate to me, as this is the final place where the ascendant goes to Saturn, disciplined mind, what rules the mind, Mercury here, is that you're an incredibly disciplined person. Now, if you wanted to be a musician, it would be the kind of musician, not like me, who just picks out the guitar and bangs out an E, A, and D, and then might be a bit creative to it, but is pretty rhythmic. No, you'll be very gifted technically. You'll study the theory, you'll apply yourself, and you think, okay, how can I create something in an orderly, disciplined fashion? I'm going to stop there. I'm going to hand it over to you, Antoinette, and just that is the first part of your chart.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's entirely accurate. Yeah, for the hardworking part, it's like a running joke in my family. I got my first job at like 14 or 15, basically as soon as I was old enough to actually apply for a job, because I just wanted one so bad and just wanted to like make my own money. And I literally couldn't contain myself. Before I got the job, I would volunteer at the animal shelter 6 hours a day because I literally just wanted to do something with myself. And then, yeah, once I got a job, every time I was leaving a job, I wanted to experience as many things as possible. So I would get a new job. And this probably sounds terrible, but I would get a new job probably like every 6 months to a year, and I would move on right away. I'd get myself the next job before I would leave the first job because I didn't like the idea of not having one in the middle of there. So it's a little fun fact that not a lot of people know about me. So I've done literally everything from like
dare I say that's a very sensible thing to have the next job lined up before you leave and not just go into into nothing.
I don't like the idea of not knowing what I'm doing next. So it would always be something else. I would love for you to elaborate when you said like health concern. It's funny that you say that, because do you mean like interested, like I love my health and like I'm concerned about learning as much as I can to maintain health, or do you mean more of like a hypochondriac? Because both of those are true for me.
With Saturn there, you're less likely to be complaining about it. You might talk about it's in Gemini, you'll talk about it, but as you say, you're looking for a solution as well. You're not going to be sitting there, say if you had Jupiter there, you might let yourself get fat and then whinge about and say, what the hell's going on? This isn't fair. But with that there, you're going to say, well, hang on a second, and you'll read about it and you'll be disciplined. You'll come up with a plan. The only concern I would have in terms of, now, if there was a health concern, it would be your breathing, because it's in Gemini. So you would have to watch your lungs, you have to watch your breathing, that kind of thing. And staying as fit as possible. And you'll have I'm sure you've got a plan for that. That would be fine. Now, the fact that you work with animals as well, that's a very 6th house thing, and their welfare. It's the welfare and labor and putting the work in. So the fact that you never want to be without work is the key thing. Now, the type of work you do is going to be, there's a philosophical aspect to it. And that might even be a theoretical aspect. If you're thinking in the music terms, the theory, you will ground yourself in that, for example. And you're not just going to be, playing Gloria and thinking this is it. You're playing, eDNA or EAD or whatever it might be. It's got to have a bit more. It's got to be more cerebral and a bit more developed. Now, in terms of the creativity itself up here, well, you've got your Venus in Leo, which means you don't mind putting yourself out there in public, but it isn't your strength. It's a little bit isolated. I'll put it in those terms.
Okay.
So it's not really being supported. Your real strength is, as I mentioned to the other day, is your Mars here. I'll just see if yeah, because the home space is ruled by Aries. So your home space would have been maybe loud or active or busy.
Busy
and
for sure.
Yeah, it's that kind of space. It's not a contemplative space. And so for you, it's interesting that if it was like that, you would want respite from that. So going into any four walls that are your own, whether it's your own room, your own office, or whatever it is, and just working on your own on something, especially if it's something creative or inspired. I'll just have a look and see where you.
That's entirely true.
Your Sag is. It's the rule of the 12th there. So you're better off, despite maybe enjoying saying and putting on the glam and going out there and performing, which might be fun. Being exposed isn't you at your best. You at your best is going into that quiet space with room to think, and then, okay, now I've got a bit of quiet. I can actually create something or do something that is really up to your own exacting standards, rather than going on stage and there'll be some bum notes or somebody. Any live performance will have something go wrong, and it won't be. And if you're just putting on the performance and it's a spectacular thing, there's the grease paint and the applause, great. For you, I would say that's probably not enough. You'll enjoy it, but you'll be thinking, but there was this, there was that, and we didn't do, and I got that note wrong. And, So
every
again,
aspect of my life, that is true. Yeah.
Bingo. I want to thank you for being a good subject, because it's as clear as crystal, and the fact that you confirm it. Nice to have the validation. The other thing I would say as well, I highlighted I've done a little bit of extra research on this yesterday and today. I highlighted these little things that look like horseshoes. One upside down, one the right way up, one for good luck, one for bad luck. The south node is this one here, and that's right on top of your ascendant. It can mean that you present yourself, or when you're on your own, that isolation can, let's put it, let me find the right word for it. It doesn't inspire you. If you're left just to your own thoughts, and I mentioned it briefly the last time I spoke to you, is that working with somebody else will ignite you and set you off. Now, that's an idea. Now, then you can apply it. But if you're left to your own, it could be a little bit sterile and a little bit repetitive if you're left to your own devices.
Repetitive, yes. Yeah.
Yes, it could be. The negative aspect of something, it can become dull.
Yeah,
and not as interesting as it could be. Working with, again, now, with the North Node, it's better to work with other people. And you've got Jupiter sitting there in Cancer, which is a terrific placement for Jupiter. Which means if you find the right people or person to work with on a collaborative effort, that will actually inspire you and think, okay, I can take what they're saying, but I can really perfect this. I can work with that. And it's like Michelangelo getting a really great slab of marble and going, okay, now I've got something to work with, as opposed to, well, all I've got is a few bricks in the back garden. You want to give yourself something to work with, and other people will give you really, really good things to work with, the material to work with.
That's
rather than being too
entirely
isolated.
true. Entirely.
There we go. So that's just two aspects of your chart: the rising sign and your midheaven. And from that, just with your music, and you said, "Oh, well, I did this." Well, it's all there, and that's from the moment of your birth. And we can't adjust that and say, "No, it's actually a day earlier." We can't say, "Let's shift timelines and have you born a month later." It ain't happening, right? But what you can do is work with any aspect. If you wanted to be a doctor, you could be a doctor if you wanted to be.
I wanted to be.
The discipline is there. The lawyer aspect is there too because of the 9th house. Or if you wanted to go overseas and do it, you could do that. You might be inspired by another culture more than your own, for example, rather than being in the United States and thinking, okay, here's what we've got here. If you went to Mexico, if you went to South Africa, wherever it might be, you might think, this is a whole new, just having a different beat, having different instruments, you might think,
I mean, I grew up traveling. I've been to South Africa. I've been to Australia. I've been to Indonesia. I've been to basically everywhere, essentially, growing up. And the fun part was that I unlocked a time capsule from myself in 6th grade that was addressed to my college age self.
Right.
For a while ago. I read it a while ago. And it was funny because the letter I wrote to myself was if you're as old as I think you are when you're reading this letter, you are probably enrolled in Yale for law, or you're going to Princeton, or you're going to Harvard to be a doctor. Because I used to literally look up law textbooks on my phone or computer when I was young and start studying, because I'm I'll just be way ahead when I get there. And this is young me. And I was reading the letter and I was like, oh, okay, so didn't go to college. Currently and actively pursuing music as a fun twist of events. And it's just a hilarious thing, because everything that you're saying is tried that, was gonna do that. Not really, because I was very young, but yeah, both sides. I've experienced the music, and that's what I choose to experience presently. And then but the discipline was always there from a very, very young age.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, it's your signature. It is what defines you more than anything else. Whatever you're going to do, you're going to apply yourself and you're going to work at it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it'll be a mental thing. You're not going to be going there and laying bricks. To be fair, with Capricorn there, Brad Pitt's got a lot of Capricorn in his chart. He's now doing a lot of sculpting, for example. So it's the type of thing, and again, working with things from the earth. For example, we've got a Capricorn sitting right here who likes to do pottery. So that's, again, working with the clay in this instance. So again, if I was to highlight someone else's chart, if you just look at my chart, you're not going to see a lot of discipline there, I'm telling you. I've got to be nailed down to keep focus on and go, today I'm doing this. Okay, right, yeah. Remind me? So the fortunate thing for you is you've got Jupiter sitting in your 7th house. You're lucky with partners, and they're going to be like family to you. As I think I mentioned the other day, the people you work with become like family. They're the people that nurture you. You might not nurture yourself too well, so you might need other people to remind you to nurture and to remember there's a softer side to things, and it's not all just grind, and more grind.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's very difficult to be a good musician if all it is just play the notes right. Because my dad was like that sometimes, and he'd do the old grind thing. He was a bit different character to yourself, but nevertheless, he had that grinding aspect. He had the mental discipline aspect to play the scales. And then finally, my mum said, "Play some jazz." No, and then eventually, once he learned a bit of jazz, he was like, this is fun. Yeah, all right, I can do that. So again, I'll just have another quick squiz at your chart. Yeah, I mean, your rule of your sun, I mean, if we wanted to just go back to your ego, the rule of that is your Mercury, and your Mercury, again, is disciplined. It is and it's, unlike my mind, which is very creative, mine's directly opposite. Under pressure, you're fine. Under pressure, I'm not fine. When the going gets tough, you get going. When the going gets tough, it's like, give me a break, right? So, and then I'll have some respite, and I can But what I have got is I can read a chart and be intuitive and get it right. So,
So Jason,
Anything I don't resonate with.
it's all there. Again, watch the breathing, watch the lungs, never smoke, do anything like that. It's
Never smoked. I've never smoked.
neither have I. But again, if the music ever goes stealthy, you could easily work with the animals again. You could easily go into law, international law, particularly. And the fact that you've traveled the Mercury, that's that 9th house aspect, which is again international, long distance travel. The short stuff, the little trips aren't going to satisfy you. It's the big stuff.
Yeah.
It's the big stuff. It's the big philosophical ideas. It's the international law. It's the things that make a big difference. Not need that pothole fixed in my street. God, that's driving me mad. Right? You can look at let someone else deal with that. It's the big. If you're going to write a musical, you're probably going to think about writing an album and not a 2-minute pop song, right?
Yeah, I was just going to say, actually, my train of thinking when it comes to learning is that I don't like to learn a lot of different things, but when I pick something that I want to learn about, I will learn it like it's the back of my hand,
Yeah.
So I'm really passionate about like coffee, and I went and I dove in and did an entire education course. I learned how to do literally everything pertaining to it. I made my birthday coffee this morning. Like, I'm constantly learning new things every day about it. And yeah, with the music, it's like my main focus right now isn't so much in the scales and the theory, but I'm learning a whole host of new skills pertaining to vocal technique and songwriting and all of these things. And I'm going very in depth with my collaborators, which has been fantastic.
And the thing is, of course, yes, I mean, the scales but then you have to develop that into, okay, now what aspect of it? There'll be schools of thought and
oh yeah,
with my own academic, but there'll be an academic aspect to the way that you take a theory and would then create songs with it, rather than just
everything. Yep.
Yeah.
So Jason, when it comes to programming, like mental programming, how does she use what she now knows to support her in identifying something that's out of alignment with that? So we use the emotions, right, in order to identify when you're in your regular world and something comes up for you. An emotion will indicate programming. However, is there a layer or something that can be embodied that will support to understand maybe the depth of the programming, or if it's maybe truly programming, or if it's something that you're just in resistance to yourself? Like, what if you're in resistance to your own nature?
It would be pretty obvious. I think with Antoinette, as I've highlighted, it would probably manifest in that the 6th house is usually seen as being very vulnerable. That's the house of health, and the 8th house is the house of death. So now the 8th house, it's got the sun. Now, it's not just, to be fair, Antoinette, don't worry too much if you've got your sun in your 8th house, which means death. It's also other people's money. So it's not just that. It's
not worried.
It's the fact that other people will probably support you financially. I've got Venus in the 8th and I inherited money.
Very cool.
So, yeah. So with sun in the 8th there, you might find people are willing to support your projects, for example. But JFK had his sun in the 8th, and we know what happened to him. So it's not it's not a fatalistic thing. But I would say the 6th house, if you find, Antoinette, that your breathing is stressed, or you're not breathing well, you're finding that, God, I'm feeling that I'm a bit labored. It's probably a sign that you might be, and then if I was looking at your chart, you're being too hard on yourself. You're stressing too much. You're putting too much pressure. Because even though when the tough get going, in your case, it might be the case you still might need a rest on occasion. Give yourself a break. I would say your weakness be driving yourself too hard, and you probably notice that. Am I running too much? Am I doing too much am I working too hard? That's where other people will come in handy for that, because I say, listen, let's just go out for a coffee. Let's just have not think about this for a half hour. Let's take the rest of the day off and go to the beach or whatever it is. And you might be thinking, but we've got to do that. Hang on a second. Yeah, let's just refresh, and then we come back to it. We'll be better aiming for it. So the chart will probably give that stuff away, Wendy. In terms of the programming stuff that we work on, are we going to see it in the chart? I could bring up the full chart with the Pluto and the Uranus and all that, but I would suggest that it's probably better if we're doing that kind of thing, because what you're talking about is more a 5D thing than a 3D thing, for example. So if we're dealing with 5D things, you want to go beyond the chart. The programming is going to be something that you came in with, and well, when we were clearing a lot of our own stuff, it had been there for generations. It wasn't anything that was about us personally. It was about like you've been brought up Catholic, for example, or the things that the way that politics was in Australia. Women were treated quite thuggishly by Australian men when I was growing up, and that we've moved away from that, thankfully, but to a large extent. But for somebody, we had this thing called the 6 o'clock swill for years in Australia, where people go, the pubs are only open for 2 hours, they get as drunk as possible in 2 hours, and they go home, and then angry working class men to beat up their wives or do something horrific like that, and that was culturally accepted. And so you've got that might be ingrained in some of the attitudes towards women and women to men and right? If you want to clear that stuff up from within inside yourself, you go to Wendy, and she can go to the 5D and clear that shit up. And it's because it's so deeply ingrained. Again, it comes to the idea of the fish being in the water. The fish doesn't know it's in water because it's all it knows. It thinks it's normal to be in the water. And for a fish, it is. But if you're brought up in a culture where being violent to women is normal, you're going to say, well, why men being? Well, that's what you do.
Yeah.
And you might not think of anything of it if that's what's normal. Or the fact that you want to have a career, how dare you? When you get married, you submit to your husband and you do what he says and blah, 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 blah. Or whatever the prevailing ideas are. You don't have to be part of that. That's what Wendy's for. The astrology will tell you about your character, who you are, and what. Well, I've just done it with you, Antoinette. You've got a disciplined mind. So, yes, I have. Well, it's there. I've never met you before 2 days ago. I have never spoken to you more than for about 20 minutes, and I can just look at that, go that.
Yeah, and in truth, it's fun because the programming is so well. So, for example, you could see all of that in my chart, right? About my learning and how I'm very capable learner, and that in a lot of aspects, that's really my superpower or strong suit is learning and teaching myself, honestly. And I had programming until this year developed from a very young age, because I was diagnosed with dyslexia from a very young age. So I was given an IEP, and immediately, it wasn't like, do you feel like you need extra help with things, Antoinette? It was more of like, well, you'll be in these supplemental classes, and you'll get this amount of supplemental time on tests. You'll get these supplemental caretakers around you at all times, watching your progress. If I made a mistake, they erase it and write it back in. It's not really like a figure it out for yourself type situation. And I also had supplemental educators that well, let's just say it wasn't their strong suit, educating kids, that were kind of going through that. So my entire life, from that moment on, I didn't even realize, but in my mind, I was like, God, I always wish I was smart. I always wish I was really smart and like one of those people that could just do things and figure things out. And I just became okay with that, even though if I were to have this chart reading done when I was young, you'd say, well, you really shouldn't have a problem with that at all. And it was really only this year, through Wendy's work and through a lot of self-discovery and help from my collaborators, who I absolutely do consider as family members. I mean, they're as close to me as anyone else, that it's just so far from the truth. And so in my, because I turned 24 today, in my fourth year, this is the first time in my entire life that I've ever felt like a capable learner, even though, and that's how strong the programming is, even though through my entire life up until this year. I'd had moments where I could show myself, like, if I wasn't a good learner, why would I look at law textbooks or like look up,
Exactly.
medical
Who does that?
terminology?
Who does that?
Who does that? In my mind, I was like, no, not smart enough. Can't figure that out.
Well,
And
yeah, Wendy, bring back up the chart. I'll show you exactly what that is.
Yeah.
Because I haven't brought that up yet. I'll have a look at here. Now you see your Mercury up there. It's green. You'll see a red line connecting it with Mars. Now, I now get what it means. I didn't really click onto it until you said it. Now I know what it is. Your actions, which are hidden from most people, you prefer working in private and in your own space, is in conflict with your mind. So that's interesting. That the physical aspects of learning are a challenge to your mind. It doesn't click for you. And that would be in this case, I will make a mental note of it. That could be a sign of dyslexia. That the physical and the mental aren't sort of, you're not seeing the material letters in the right order.
no.
And the fact that Mars is hidden there, it's hidden. What the hell's going on? Might be the attitude, and then you're going to need help. The fact is, that is hiding. The actions are hiding your mental capability in that case. Now that we know, now that the programming is out of the way, there's nothing wrong with the mind. The connecting of the mind with the physical actions could be problematic. You might, in my Mercury is, it's also square Mars. I'm very badly coordinated naturally. I worked at it. I'll never be a fantastic lead guitar player because I just can't do it quickly enough. And I get, if it's too fast, I get a bit scattered. That's my brain, right? But I'm not dyslexic. So for me, it's just that my mind and my body aren't terribly well coordinated. I don't drive for that reason. And my mind wanders off, and I'm likely to go off a cliff or drive into somebody. So I don't do it.
Oh gosh.
So there is a conflict between the way that your body acts and the way your mind works. So
Interesting.
yeah. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that you've got to, you're a moron or anything like that. Quite the opposite. It's just, it will seem afflicted. It will seem that there's, what's like the way that young Wendy, programming for educators in North America, I suspect there's a fair bit there where they just stuff up and they've got all these prejudices and ideas about, dyslexic. Well, you might be an idiot. That happened to a friend of mine, actually, ended up becoming a Labour councillor here in the city where I live. He was initially, they put him in the bottom class and thought he was a moron. And he ended up getting into university at 17 and getting a very decent degree. So we might need to do a bit of stuff on that, I would say. But
yeah, and and it affects people in different ways. It used to be my letters when I was younger, I would write backwards a lot. F's, E's.
Me too.
Yeah.
I have the same thing. And I can write backwards as easily as I can write frontwards.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just is something that's so easy.
That's really cool. I cannot do that, but that's super, super cool. For me, I think for me today, it's more like I had to take my driver's permit test 6 times because the first 5 times I kept misreading lefts, rights, questions, turning me around. And then finally my mom was like, can we not put headphones so she can listen to these questions? Because she's not reading them the right way. And then 6th time, I think I passed like a very high score because it's just like when I hear things, music, it's way easier for me to like grasp concepts and like understand what's going on. But looking at things organizationally is like very hard for me sometimes. Like
you're bypassing the physical hands and the it's just going straight in. That's why music is probably very good for you because You're hearing the music first, and then when you're applying the theory to what you hear. So it's probably
entirely.
Okay. There we go.
Yeah, so good. So it's fun, Jason. I see where we can utilize. So would you consider astrology 3D?
Oh God, yes.
So
it's
astrology,
about taking it first. It's in space and time. It's time and place. Yeah.
So we would use the 3D nature of astrology and the 5D nature of the programming work that I do. And in that case, you're hitting all of the aspects of yourself in that space and being able to identify any programming and move it out of the way. How fun is this?
I don't know if I've ever had such a, it's also just a very validating experience, because I feel like you kind of over time like know things about yourself, but you don't ever understand like the why or the how that applies, or like, because you grow up and you're like, okay, my fifth grader's reading law textbooks, and it's like, how is that beneficial, and why does she want to do that, and it's just it's all indicating future strong suits, like things that you can really use to your advantage, and things that I never put together, especially because like when you have massive programming, like programming that really runs so silently, like my inability to learn programming, it overrides everything else. I mean, how many times it took one of my collaborators being like, you're a very fast learner. Just this last May, the program collapsed. I can't even explain. I've never felt or seen anything like it. The program, it's like I saw everything go like this and then come back into my mind. It was almost like how people say, like, when you pass on, you might see your life flash before your eyes. It was like everything, and then it was gone. It was literally, there was so
That's
much.
A shift. That is a shift. Yeah.
So much space in my brain. I had never felt so free. Like you don't, fish is in water is all it's ever known. I had never known the outside world from the pond that I was swimming in pretty, my entire life. Right. And, because I could have done this reading with you anytime before May, and I would have been like, that is the most inaccurate thing I've ever heard. Like learning, like, no, I don't do these things well at all. And it's only now that I'm sitting here after that shift, which is the craziest feeling in the world, by the way, when you literally something becomes your entire reality, becomes your whole personality, and then it's just gone. And what's left? Literally anything you want.
That's right.
Everything I said was like growing up, I want to be smart. I want to be genius. I want to do all these things with my brain. And it's like, I just don't have the brain for it. And now that moves and you're like, what can't I do with this brain? You know what I mean?
The key thing about your brain is, because I'll put it this way, the benefit of having all these challenges you've had is that you felt that you had to apply yourself.
Mm-hmm.
There was a mountain to climb.
More than everyone else. Yeah.
Yeah. And because of that, you are more disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever you take for the benefit that you've had from that is, that you can just get into that whatever channel it is, whatever room, that space that you go into in here, and just go, right, let's get on with it. And you can just focus and just apply, go. But at the same time, you'll know if you overdo it, your breathing will become labored, and your friends, you're going to need other people to say, come out, like the old Dear Prudence by the Beatles, come out to play. Don't just sit in there and meditating all the time. You've got to come out to play.
I was in a vocal lesson the other day as a part of the program I was in, and I'm learning advanced vocal technique. And it had never been brought to my attention that I had never been taught proper deep breathing, which is hilarious because who would have thought? And I didn't realize until he was like, you can breathe deeper than that. And I was like, I don't think I can. And it's like, for me, I'm in the practice right now of, he gave me some just exercises I can do to help really center and control and deepen my breathing, because it's very shallow, which allows me to, be much better at other techniques that require that sort of breathing. But the deep breathing thing, I never mastered. So it's interesting because that totally resonated when you said that. I was like, yeah, I don't know that.
So good. So good.
It's entirely possible that you might come to a point in life where that will become the focus and you'll be showing people how to breathe.
I can totally see that.
Yeah. And it might be, you don't do it, again, you go overseas to parts of the world where they don't do that kind of thing. You've got to learn how to breathe. And that could be just tuning into that could easily be something you do, because it's a labor of love, that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm trying to hopefully move internationally sometime next year, which is crazy. So, you know, all these things, they all are right.
Well, that's because that's the key thing for you is the work itself. You're not as much as you like to enjoy going out on the stage, going, here I am. Your greatest fulfillment is actually doing whatever work that you're doing.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Yeah, 100%. So because I just don't have all that much time left, I would love to ask you one question about everything, and it's kind of a vast question, so feel free to answer however you feel like it's going to be the most helpful. But based on my chart and based on everything that we've discussed, what for me should be, because I know the breathing is a main touch point, but what for me should be the biggest takeaway from everything that we've talked about today pertaining to the fact that, you know, I want to do music for my whole life as a career moving forward, and how can I, you know, support myself, and what are some things to pay attention to?
I would say this to you. And I'm going to repeat myself here. For you, I would say the idea of a career is not a trap, but wouldn't be as fulfilling as you might think. It's the work that matters to you. Don't think of it. You're the type of person who just has to get down and do the work, and that is the most satisfying thing that you'll have. You'll be lucky with friends, lucky with romantic partners, lucky with people that you work with. But the key thing for you is don't focus on, I don't think it's the mountaintop for you. That's the most, it's actually getting down amongst the dirt and working with the soil, working with the marble, and making something that satisfies you. Not, here I am, everybody. Here I am sitting on top of the mountain. I'm the guru. No, you're going to be just working with people. What am I doing today? What's my work today? And that's where your joy is. It's not what most people find uplifting and woohoo, this gets me up. If Wendy had to do that in the morning, no, she ain't getting up, right? She wants to get in the sports car and go somewhere fast, right? Well, steady pace because it's Scorpio. Not too fast, but she wants to get there. As far as you want to just do the work. Whatever the work is, do the work. Don't overdo the work, but do the work.
That's so true. I can't even, because seriously, every time I think about exactly what you said, career, I always feel like, but there's so many things I want to do. I want to do so many things all the time. I just like my life vision is just like happiness.
For you, working in the valley is not unpleasant.
No, I love it. I love it. Yeah. So
Very
that
cool.
is so nice to hear. And I can't tell you guys how amazing this was. And like literally the best start to my birthday morning ever, because now I'm all vibing out and just excited about today and what this 24th year of my life will bring. So thank you for your time and expertise. Jason, this is incredible. And Wendy, thank you for supporting me through the last 2 years and getting me to be where I am today, because we both know it would not have happened. So not as
yeah, I was going to say, just for everyone to know, tell everyone what was your frame of mind before we started working together versus what it is now.
Yeah, I mean, chronic anxiety, diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder from like a very young age, lack of self-belief, and knowing in my ability to do things. And I basically am, so the biggest step that I ever took for myself was signing up for a program called Breakthrough, like last year. I'm in the same program again this year, but last year was my first year, and Wendy was mentoring last year and is again this year. But basically that was me quitting the last job I had, which is my barista job, and basically saying like, I'm not working on a cafe floor. If I'm really going to care about the music the way that I need to quit and do it. So doing Breakthrough, I met Wendy, and then basically I was just so full of anxiety all the time. I had like no sense of certainty. I had like terrible imposter syndrome, like about things that I would create and like do. And I would always tell myself like, it's because somebody else was in this room with me, or I could have never done that by myself, or like, all of these things. Like, it was never me. I was never the key piece of amazing things that were happening. It was the people that I surrounded myself with, you know. And I remember the first thing that Wendy, I think, ever told me in our first reading, which was, your programming is rooted in regret. You're scared that you'll regret things in the future if you don't do them the right way, or you don't do these certain things. And in my mind, that was like the first program shift, because that was a lot of my anxiety, was like, okay, well, if I don't spend time, you know, with all these people that I love and care about, I'm going to regret it in the future. But like, then if I spend more time doing my career, or spending time with these people and not working on my career, then I'm going to regret not being the best that I could be in that moment, because I didn't spend my time the right way.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I was like hooked on the work. I was like, okay, so this works, and I need to come back every month for these sessions, because there's so many things that I don't know. And it led to all of the work and everything led to the massive shift that I had this year. And basically, there hasn't been dips. You know, I've genuinely felt like over the last couple of years, it's just been a slow ascent, you know, into like everything. And I was telling Wendy, I was like, it's to the point where I feel like I understand myself so well, and I finally have like this instilled sense of knowing that I actually, well, one, I don't have anxiety anymore. So I've never taken medication for anxiety, even though, you know, I was diagnosed and all these things. I was terrified of being dependent on things, so I never took them, and just dealt with it, you know. And I don't experience it almost at all anymore. Which is an incredible change. And, you know, I've learned to use the dyslexia as a superpower in my writing, because I can't really write outside of a rhyme. Like, I have a really hard time doing that. It really helps me if I write structured. So it has to be like, when I'm writing, it has to be a rhyme, so I kind of can follow along with like the idea, or else I feel like it's not like a complete idea, which helps me in a lot of rooms. And yeah, overall, I have so much more space for the high frequency emotions, that when I wake up baseline every day, it's pure excitement to just be like getting up and existing. And I feel like just the most joyful person over the last like 4 months. And it really truly is because of the program shift and the things that I've come to understand. So yeah. I just, you know, have this immense amount of gratitude for Wendy and for the program that I was in last year and everything, because it really wouldn't be this way this year if it wasn't for that.
And you chose it. So just to know how, like, to be in ownership of that, like, I'm appreciative and I'm so grateful to have met you, and I think you're an incredible human. And my role is to be the mirror and show you who you are via what I can, you know, my perception in the maybe fifth dimensional nature from 3D, 5D and beyond. And it's an extreme joy to be able to do that and show you the mirror. But listen, the truth is, and Jason will second this, you must choose it for yourself. I can't choose anything for anyone. We can't do anything for anyone else. It must be self-chosen. And that is the key in this reality to getting anywhere, doing anything, and having what you want, is being the chooser of your own reality. And then based on some of the work that Jason and I are bringing to the world, from my perspective, the internal mental programming, Jason's perspective, he has other things as well, but the astrology is a mastery in his hands for sure, showing you aspects, different ways of looking at you, the being that's expressing yourself through this, you know, beautiful skin suit, how to navigate and then make choices that are easy and enlightening and fluid and fun, and following your own excitement will get you where you want to be. And how joyful would the world be if we all knew that, oh, you know, like we really can. I think the old adage used to be, oh, follow your bliss, but nobody really understood the depth of that statement. Follow your bliss is just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna throw myself to the wind and follow the bliss, right? Doesn't quite work that way. There's some work to be done in acknowledgement and allowance in who you are and what you're after, where you're headed, setting your own internal GPS to a vision that you're after, and then navigating with the tools at hand, right? Consciously and confidently making the choices. And so that's where we're in gratitude right back to you for choosing you. because of what you've chosen so far, you're going to deliver beautiful music to the world. You're going to, be in support in humanity in your own way. And that the results of that will be because of the choices you're making and have made up until now in that point as well. So no, in this space, and this is for everyone watching as well, you are the driver of your own reality. You do get to choose. And as much as the external reality looks like it's untouchable, it's not, right? When it's in your view and you're choosing to view it, it's within your grasp to change the experience you're going to have within it. And it doesn't mean changing other people. Excuse me. It means shifting yourself on a consistent basis in order to have the experience that you're after, which in my languaging is shifting timelines, right? Because you don't just shift. The truth is, when we shift the program, we're not actually doing something and shifting it inside of this reality. We're shifting you, the frequency of you, to a timeline where that program no longer exists. So the resonance of who you are in the moment that you're choosing something different as you move to the timeline where that is resonant and that programming never existed. So we often articulate turning off programs or changing programs or shifting programs. And that is a lot for the mind and the ego to ingest in order to understand logically what is happening so that you can be an allowance of it. Because if right out of the gate you said, okay, we're going to shift timelines, automatically be like, nope, I don't even understand what that means. What does that mean? Right? Even go into questioning. But when you think, okay, well, I'm going to shift the programs within, then you're an allowance of your own choosing. And when you're an allowance of that and you see the evidence that is occurring, you allow yourself to shift timelines, and then that languaging becomes easy to ingest. You're like, oh, now I get it. But it's when you've had the experience that you then become an allowance of it. Because, we're not used to talking about shifting timelines the way we understand it. So it gets to be articulated in an ingestible way. We're like, oh, yeah, that tastes good. I like that. I'll have a little bit more of that. Thank you. Right? From that perspective. So we're excited and appreciative of you on your birthday being here on our first, Jason and my first episode together. And we look forward to more. So we know you got to go. So you can, by all means, pop off and have the most incredible birthday.
It's got work to do,
There's always work to do. But the beautiful part about that is that in the past where I would actively choose not to take on work because it would trip my anxiety, even though I find joy and comfort and peace in work, I now possess the knowing within myself that all work can become exciting because I know that I'm capable of doing all work. So it's like, yeah, I always have work to do and I'm so excited about it. I love all the work that I have to do. So it's like, it's just incredible. And I can't thank you guys genuinely enough for this because it was the most amazing thing. And to everybody with the birthday comments in the comment section, I'm not logged into YouTube, so I can't comment back, but thank you. I really appreciate everybody here. So thank you guys so much.
Awesome. Thanks for coming. And know this too. Here's one more small bit. It's not work if you're having fun.
That's so true.
Right? So you can articulate it from that perspective and know that it's not work when you're having fun. And that's the old adage, do what you love and you never work a day in your life. That is the truth for sure. So go have an amazing day. And I think if Jason's okay with staying on for a bit, we do have some people that are in.
Really?
Yeah. If you're okay with it, we have some people that are in the comments there with
really?
Their actual time, date, and that would it be too much for you to
I think it's probably better if anybody wants me to do that, because I was actually prepared for this one. I'm not like Antoinette. I can't work my ass off the way that she can. So the thing is, if anybody wants me to do a chart or anything like that, well, you can go to Wendy's site, I believe. I don't know if it's set up yet. But if there was we can pick one out for next week if you want. If you can take.
Well, they can comment. I think what we'll do is they can comment right now underneath this, so then it's running all week long until next week. They can put their stuff in there if they don't want to share their personal.
We can have a surprise. We can draw something and be the lucky winner, and I can do their chart for them next time.
There you go. Right,
that?
we'll do that. How many days do you need to do that? And Antoinette, if you need to go, you can totally pop off. I can
Pop,
read.
pop, pop. Thank you
And
guys.
we will see you. Thanks.
Week.
Thanks
My
so much
hand's
for
actually
coming
here. I
in.
know you can't see it, but I'm
Thank you
waving
so
to you.
Have a great day, everyone.
See
Okay.
you. What we'll do is we'll invite everyone to kind of raise their hand and say, I would love to have, my chart written.
Well, the thing is, just put in the comments
Yeah,
in
for
YouTube,
sure.
and we'll just pick one out. You can just pick one out.
Yeah, you know what? I have a really cool way to do that too. That's completely fair. So, and I see we get to look into Sarah too. I think she's the first one to graciously volunteer. So next week, we're going to be on again Thursday at 9 a.m. Excuse me. And we will, and by the way, hi, Mike. I just saw your happy birthday to Antoinette. And Antoinetta, hello to you as well. Thanks for showing up, you guys. Next week, we'll do this again. And we'll pick someone out of the comments. So if you're watching the replay, by all means, and I see
You
Tracy.
can put in the comments now if you want to.
Yeah, you can
do it now.
Everyone that's in here, Kim, Mike, Sarah, Tracy's in here, Antoinetta, Aaliyah, everyone can pop in and
It's good for the algorithm anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, say, hey, I would like that, to have an astrological.
Remember to like and subscribe and all that too.
You're so good. So when you put that in there, I'll go through, and I have a really fun way of doing that. And I will, I guess I will re-comment on you, or somehow we will figure it out. Because what if we do that, not necessarily in this very moment, but if we give them the week and people that are watching the replay the ability to comment, you might have to get.
If you comment by a certain date, then
then you'll have time.
A couple of days beforehand, so I can have a. I don't have to work too hard. I'm not Antoinette. I'm not going to bust my.
Your church says so. I bet.
That's right.
Okay. So how about by Tuesday night? We'll say Tuesday night. Late Tuesday night. We'll just say Tuesday at 9 p.m. EST. Comment before then, and then I'll pull them all. I'll do a little video where I'm going to pick the winner of that.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, and then we'll go from there, and I'll be able to have them reach out, and we'll get the details.
That'll boost the channel, won't it?
Oh, well, hopefully. The more people, the better. So please, for sure, share this if there's anyone would enjoy understanding the perspective of human programming, timeline shifting, astrology from that perspective. So 3D, 5D aspects. And learning how to shift it.
That's the thing I'll say right at the end here, Wendy, is the fact that you don't have to be captured by any of this. You don't have to let it rule your life. Once you get a hold on, oh, that's me, okay. It becomes, you can end up shrugging your shoulders, okay, that's who I am, great, now what? And you can get on with your life, and you do what you want. Yeah. That's the whole point.
This is my Instagram handle. So if anyone here is... wanting to see more of what's possible, pop over and shoot me a message, and we will chit chat there. So that no personal details have to go onto the thing, but like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. And then what we'll do is I'll reach out the same way if someone has won the reading, and we'll keep going. We'll have a lot of fun with it. But that's my Instagram. And then if anybody who's watching hasn't seen, I've got a secret podcast. So if you go to my website, wendypaquette.com, you'll be able to go, and there's a podcast link at the top, and you could it's a secret podcast. So you get to put your email in there, but you'll have access to all, so far, the episodes that are super potent. They're soul channeled information about all kinds of crazy things, including how your reality works through the concept of timeline shifting and all sorts of fun things. So anyway, please go and pop yourself in there and listen to what's there so far. And we really look forward to seeing you all next time. And what was I going to say? The conversations that Jason and I are going to have moving forward are really going to lean into the work that we do, how we identify programming, how we shift it, what it looks like, how to use 5D tools in the 3D space in order to get what you want. And there's zero judgment here. So we know that you can have anything.
Maybe a little bit of judgment.
Human judgment is always nature, but not intentional judgment. It'll be, my perspective is, there is more than enough of absolutely everything on the planet in order to have the life that you want. So by all means, let's keep this going. And I can't wait to see what happens next week. So just for those of you also, I'm doing something else at YouTube Lives Wednesday as well, I believe at 3 p.m. and potentially other days too. We're going to see. It's time to start chatting with the world. So thank you, Jason, for showing up.
All
Can't
right.
wait to do more with you. And
Went pretty well, didn't it? Antoinette was terrific, wasn't she?
she was. I loved it. She was really great. And I love that she understood herself better after that. So I will speak to you shortly, Jace. And until then, thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.